Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Today I thought I would show you how I make card toppers, or sort of background pieces for cards, out of all of my fabric scraps. You know what a hoarder I am, I can't throw things away, so that includes my fabric scraps, and I keep them all in this big bag. And when I've finished a project I just chuck the bits and pieces in here because I think I'm going to use everything. So I'm challenging myself to try and use everything now. So I will get on and show you what I'm going to get up to. Okay, so I've pulled out some coordinating scraps. These are all kind of greens and golds. This is just a wet wipe that I used to clean a green stamp off with. And I've also found a couple of pieces of plain cotton scraps. One's in an oblong shape and one is sort of roughly in a square shape. They're not perfect, it doesn't matter. What I'm going to do now is arrange my scrap pieces onto these little pieces of cotton. I'm going to glue them on just a little bit with some fabric glue to begin with, and then once I've got them in place where I want them, I'll start to stitch on them. And I'll fast forward up through that for you. Okay, so I like this layout. I want to stitch along these pieces first, and then once I've done that I'm going to add these and then stitch around these. So I'll get on, I'm going to take these to the sewing machine now and do that. So I've got my sewing machine at the ready. I've put it on quite a tight sort of stitch length, it's between 1 and 2, and I've got it on a zigzag stitch on here as well. So I'm just going to get on and start stitching through my pieces of fabric. I've got that one to sew and I put a couple of bits on the square one, so I'll fast forward while I do that. I've waited for the glue to dry, by the way, so the glue's dried on now, so I'm just going to get on a stitch. Now I'm just going to keep on adding elements until I'm happy with what I've got, so I'll carry on stitching and show you what they look like when they are finished. Okay, so these are the pieces that I've got so far. I'm just going to trim off all of the loose threads. I know some people like that loose thread look, but I'm not really a massive fan of it, so I'm just going to cut all those loose threads off. And I'm not going to bother securing them or anything, because once you have put adhesive on the back of these card toppers, the stitches are not going to come undone anyway, so it's going to be fine. So I'm just going to trim all of those off, and then we'll see where we are, and I'll see what else I want to add to them. Okay, so after saying I'm not a massive fan of the loose thread look, I've gone and added a load of loose threads to my pieces. Lol. So I've put some gold threads on that were just some scraps in there in my bin. What I'm going to do now is add some sort of quite firm paper to the back of each one of my little toppers, just because I think it's going to make it easier for me to stick this onto a card base. I'm going to have to, what I'm going to do is stitch the paper to the fabric, but I'm going to have to be really careful because I've got these zips in here and I don't want to break my needle, so I'm going to be really careful when I go across there. What I've done, so that I know where the zips are, I've just put a little mark on the back of my pieces of paper just so that I go carefully around the area where the zips are. So I'm going to get on and stitch those on now. Right, so I've got my two toppers ready to go on a card. I think they will work quite well with craft cardstock. So I'm going to use craft cardstock as my bases for my two cards. Some time ago I did a video of embellishment making. I made a ton of embellishments. I've got quite a few left. I've used up tons of them, but these were embellishments that I made so that I'd have stuff in my stash for when I want to make a card, and it's been working really well. I've used up lots of them. I've still got lots to use. I've got my little prezzies that I made. They work really well. So, like for instance, one of these little prezzies would work really well on the card as an embellishment. But what I'll do, I'll link that video where I made the embellishments at the end of this video. But I've pulled a couple of embellishments out of my embellishment storage now. So I've got these two here, and I think they're going to work well. So what I'm going to do is use this one on this card, and I think this one is going to work well on that card some way or other. I'm not quite sure which way I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to pop those on. Again, like in the last card, if you saw the last video that I did when I used up a lot of my scrap papers, I'll link that video as well at the end. I'm not going to put a sentiment onto my cards because I want to leave them flexible. I want to be able to use them for maybe if it's a thank you card, or it's a birthday card, or even maybe possibly a sympathy card, something like that. I want to leave them completely flexible, because what I tend to do is, in this embellishment box, I stamp up sentiments, so that I've got a few just for you, happy birthday, thinking of you, someone special, lots of different sentiments. I have them already stamped up, thank you, ready to go, so that I can just get on and make the card when I want to. So this is my kind of go-to box to add things to cards. So I will get on and finish my cards up and fast forward through that for you.